Hi everyone, I hope you're enjoying your Saturday afternoon. My name is Kelly, as many of you know. I've been on Instagram for a while, and then later I will be posting this on my Facebook page. I live in San Francisco, California. I am 43. I grew up in the Central Valley, went to school at UC Davis, and pretty much right after that I moved to the Bay Area. So I've been in the Bay Area for almost 20 years, which sounds crazy when I think about it, that I've lived here that long. And I've actually lived in this apartment for almost 18 years. It'll be 18 years in October. Rent control. It's a beautiful thing in San Francisco. As I mentioned, it's a studio apartment, but it is actually a pretty big studio apartment in consideration to even some of the studio apartments I saw before I moved here. And I live with my boyfriend. My boyfriend and I have been together for 5 years. I think we hit our official 5-year mark just a few weeks ago. And then we have 2 cats that we just adopted a couple months ago, Tippy and Merle, who we also have an Instagram account. So if you want to give them a follow, that would be great. That's at Tippy and Merle, just all one word. And today I'm popping on just because it's been a while since I've been on done a live. I've done a couple of videos here and there, but I've kind of pulled away a little bit in the last couple of years, I would say. And I can't see my comments because I have something. So who joined me? Carrie and Eric. Hi guys. As I was saying, it's been a couple of years since I've actually done a live video. I've done them here and there. It actually was my goal this year to do more live videos or even in my video Instagram stories, but I just I've kind of gotten out of the practice of it. So I'm kind of resetting that today with you guys, and mostly because I've joined a program to kind of help my my Young Living business. As many of you know, I am a Young Living distributor, and I share a lot about Young Living, and not just about the about the product and selling you the product, because that's just not right in my opinion. I actually use everything about Young Living, the essential oils, the non-toxic products such as the Thieves Cleaner, which you can kind of see behind me here. I have them up on my top shelf, the dish soap and the household cleaner. And I really feel passionate about sharing that with y'all, because for me, prior to being introduced to Young Living, I didn't pay much attention to what I was using, what I was really putting on my body or around my body. I try to be careful with what I was putting in my body, because we do, you hear that a lot. But it wasn't something that I really paid much attention to. Prior to 2017, 2018, I just didn't have the time. I couldn't be bothered. If I had a health problem, the first thought in my mind was like, oh God, like I gotta deal with this, and I don't have the time to deal with it. My work life was very busy, could be very overwhelming, very stressful. I shared a video about that about a month ago, and that's how it kind of led up to me, I think, being more open about Young Living. And just using essential oils in general. I don't know, if someone came to me, before 2017, and started talking to me about essential oils, I might have, of course, yes, listened, but I don't know if I would have truly been opened to what the message was at that time. And again, a lot of us, I was living my bubble. I had my work. My work was about 90% of my life. Which is very sad to think about, but everything else kind of fell to the wayside. And if there was any problems, any type of problem, whether it was health-wise, whether it had to do with my apartment, had to do with my car, it was more of a nuisance to me that I had to stop what I was doing to take care of it. And because of that, and because of the way I was living at that time, I was ignoring warning signs that my body had been telling me and giving me since I was a kid. I remember as a kid, I was very sensitive to scents, certain perfumes, certain candle scents. especially walking through the department store in the perfume section was a nightmare for me. I would try to walk through that section as quickly as possible, but I never really thought about why. Why did I have that reaction to scents that way? Again, candles were the same way. Even though I was a huge candle lover, anyone who knew me from my young adult, like college life, all the way probably up until, well, I joined Young Living, I burned candles all the time. I collected them, but there were only certain scents that I could handle. I couldn't handle anything that wasn't more of a fruity scent. So anything that was too floral. So I actually never had lavender candles burning. Anything I had were like apples or I'm trying to think of cranberry. Cranberry was one that was my favorite scent back in the day. So those were things I didn't think about. And I didn't think about why I had those reactions. I also had skin sensitivities. Like I couldn't use certain commercial brands. I remember, I think my earliest memory of a skin reaction was when I was in high school. I think it was right before my senior prom. I think my cousin had bought me some new soap or something, and I had used it, and I broke out really bad, really bad all over my back, which probably would have been fine if my prom dress wasn't backless. I think that happened like 2 days before prom, which I remember was quite disappointing. I think we managed to get it calmed down and everything, but it was not, I do remember it was not a fun experience. And then the second thing it's solid like in my memory and etched in there forever as if it happened yesterday, was in college, my freshman year. I got some scholarships, but I didn't, get a lot. So, and I was trying to help my family with paying for college. And the Miss California pageant, they gave everyone, I think, who participated in the county pageants, I think it was $200 or something, which, freshman year in college, this was back in 1995, $200, I mean, that paid like a quarter's worth of textbooks and maybe a little bit more, like some supplies and things like that. Maybe I could get some like extra meals on the side. So to me, that was like, ooh, like, yes, I'm just going to participate. I mean, I loved watching pageants growing up, but it was not something that I ever considered doing myself. So I worked very hard for a few months before the actual pageant night, the competition, working with, the staff. They had to help you with, your talent, your interviewing skills, things like that. And then the one perk that they always, told people, participants, was that the night of the pageant is that they would have a makeup artist that actually was a makeup artist with the Miss California pageant. She would come down and she would do everyone's makeup. And it was like, okay, cool, awesome. I wore some makeup. I stuck with one brand of makeup pretty much from, early high school. I think I started maybe late junior high, early high school through, my college life, actually pretty much until I made a switch over to Savvy Minerals, which is Young Living's pure mineral base makeup. So it was the first time that I actually had, one, I had someone doing my makeup, and two, using makeup products that I'd never used before. So I actually, to be honest, I don't even know what brand of products they were. So the night of the pageant, you go through it. The makeup artist put the makeup on. We go through our competition. We go through the rest of the night. Everything's cool. I remember, the one thing I do remember that night too is that I was just happy it was over, because I'd been driving back and forth between Davis and my hometown. I think it was like almost every weekend for like 2, maybe 3 months. So it was quite a lot. And it was at least a 2-hour drive one way. And actually my college roommate at that time came home with me for the pageant to, be there for support. And so the plan was that, I think the pageant was on a Saturday night. The plan was that we would, go down, I would have the competition, and then, Sunday evening or sometime Sunday, I think we would drive back up to Davis. Well, Saturday night, as I said, we went through the competition. Cool, it ended. I didn't win, which I was actually glad I didn't win. It was never my goal to win. Again, I was more about that for that $200 or whatever I was going to get for participating. Because then it would have been a lot of work on me for the next year if I had won, and that was not something that I really wanted to sign up for. But anyways, I didn't tell anyone that at the time. Anyways, I remember we went to Taco Bell because I'd been essentially starving myself for 2 or 3 months. I was eating, but I was not eating as I normally would have been eating at that time. And I got a Mexican pizza from Taco Bell, which was one of my favorites from their menu at that time. And yeah, cool. Went home, ate the pizza, and then I went to bed. The next morning, I woke up, and it was a bit of a surprise for myself, and well, as my family and my college friend and everyone, is that when I woke up, my eyes were swollen shut. Because I had an allergic reaction to the eye makeup that was used on me that night. And if I remember right, I probably did not wash my face before going to bed, which that was a huge no-no, but whatever. So that was one of the biggest things. That to me was like a huge aha, oh my God, I have to be aware of what I use, especially around my eyes. They were the most sensitive, so anything that I used, I would have a reaction, so I was very careful about that. I do remember actually the brand of makeup I used. I think I got a sample from some other brand, and actually these two brands are actually sister brands, are actually under the same corporate umbrella, and the only difference is that one of them uses fragrance, and it was just actually an eye makeup remover, and I did not have as bad as a reaction as I did the night that I competed in the Miss California pageant for the county. But I did have a reaction. And I remember when I went to talk to the makeup lady that I got my makeup from, she had told me that the companies were, sister brands. I was unaware of it at that time. And that she said that a lot of people do have a reaction to the other brand because they tend to use fragrance as one of their ingredients. At that time, again, this is when I was... oh goodness, I was probably 19, 20. She said the word fragrance, and I didn't really think much of it. It was just kind of like in one ear, out the other, but I knew that I did not want to use anything with the word fragrance on it. Didn't know why, didn't look into why or why it would be bad for me, but I did just keep that in mind. And so I avoided. I actually just stuck with my one brand at that time that I knew that I didn't have a reaction to. So again, these were warning signs that my body had been kind of telling me over the years. In my late 20s through my 30s, I'd had some, problems female wise. In my late 20s, I got my first abnormal pap smear, and so I had to deal with with that, which required me to get a cone biopsy of my cervix. And then I had years of, you're supposed to go see your gynecologist once a year to get the pap smear, but I had to go, I think shortly after I got the cone biopsy done. I think after that I had to go see her every 3 months to get a test. And then I think I had to be a year of, in that cadence of at least, that those tests came back negative. And then it became twice a year. I think it was pretty much through most of my 30s. And then in my late 30s, so about almost a decade since the first abnormal pap smear came back, I got another abnormal pap smear. And so then I had to go back to at least twice a year. At the time, I didn't really think much of it. I just was like, this kind of sucks. And again, as I mentioned earlier, because my work life was always so busy, it was, to me, it was at the time seen as a nuisance, something I had to take time out of my work day to go see the doctor, to get this test done, versus really kind of sitting down and thinking about what's going on with my body. Then in my late 30s, things kind of got a little bit worse, and worse in the sense, in my mind, it was more of a nuisance again, that I got these really long and heavy periods. And at that time, I was attributing it to a birth control change. I don't remember when the insurance companies, or my insurance company at the time, had decided that it was fine to accept generic forms. And I kind of linked it that way because once my birth control went from the brand name to the generic is when I had heavier periods and a longer duration. So I probably spent over 3 years, 4 years trying to deal with that. I actually changed my birth control entirely September 2017, and the reason why I remember that date is because that was the last month I was officially a full-time employee with my company at that time, because I was actually laid off from them in 2015, and I actually had just been contracting them around, so it was like I was still like a temp employee with them and getting full benefits including my insurance, but I've been doing that for 2 years straight. And when you're doing a temporal or contracting role, if you do it for 2 years straight, there's something in the law, again, I haven't really looked into it, but you have to take a break, a 90-day break. And so when it looked like I wasn't going to be able to do anything, or there wasn't really anything for me when it came to a full-time job with the company, I decided, okay, well, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen with my insurance. So I decided to change my birth control entirely. And I changed it to something that I had heard from my sister and my cousin that it was fine to do. They had no issues. And, yes, I read the little pamphlet, but you never really think, like, I'm going to be within that whatever small percent that they say that people have the side effects to. Well, I had more of the side effects that they had mentioned, and plus more. So that was another, get rid of this notification. That was another 2 years of agony, and it was actually worse than it was before. And I can't really put into words how agonizing it was to go through it, because not only did my periods become much heavier, they actually would go on for at least half a month. So 2 weeks, maybe up to 3 weeks. So if you think about an entire year, pretty much almost the majority of the time I was bleeding in some way. The stress of it, the embarrassment at sometimes too. There were accidents that had happened that, I luckily was able to get, help right away. But the big kind of blow up of it happened last year at the end of February, where I was bleeding so excessively that I actually did have to go to the doctor and have it taken care of. Because again, even though I had been introduced to Young Living and essential oils and been making switches to non-toxic products, in my mind, because it had been ingrained in my head for so long, and the way I had worked was that, something like this happening, it would go away. It would take care of itself. It would go away. It didn't. I had to go to the doctor, and I ended up having a full hysterectomy at the end of March to kind of make sure that I didn't have issues with it again, because what they found was I had 5 huge fibroids in my on my uterus, in my uterus, all the way around. So that kind of long roundabout story, I share that is because the way my mindset was, and the way that I was, kind of living my life at that time was, again, that anything that popped up that would keep me away from doing my job or took time away from my job that I knew that later would be double the work, triple the work, more hours put in, I would just have worked through it versus having to take the time to take care of myself. So again, what I discovered, it was another point of discovery, because when I joined Young Living in 2018, learning about essential oils, learning about how it's very important to understand who you're getting your essential oils from, because the FDA does not regulate essential oils. It considers essential oils like cosmetics or fragrance, and so all that is required in the bottle of an essential oil is 5% of the pure oil. So if you're purchasing your essential oils from Amazon, Target, Walgreens, I mean, they're everywhere. I know they're everywhere. You're not getting the full pure oil in that bottle. You're maybe getting at least 5% of the oil, and then the rest of the bottle is full with synthetic fillers. So because of that just small amount, you might get some of the scent of essential oil, so such as lavender, but you're not getting the true benefits and from an essential oil. And if you've been using your essential oils from places like that, and you feel like, oh, it doesn't really work for me, when you hear people saying like, oh, lavender is really great, to help support your hair growth and for your skin, it's relaxing and calming, but you're not feeling those or getting those benefits yourself, then most likely it has to do with actually what's in the bottle. And because the FDA doesn't regulate, other companies can put that it's still pure essential oil in that bottle. So 2018 for me, when I had a friend who shared with me at the end of 2017 about Young Living and essential oils, because prior to that, I had never heard of essential oils. I essentially lived under a rock. And again, because of the way I lived my life, I didn't have time to really look into or research or do anything else. So I wasn't proactive about it. I didn't have the time for it, and I didn't think about it unless I had a major issue that I needed to kind of dig into more, which if I did have an issue, it annoyed me, to be honest. So at the end of 2017, with my girlfriend slash coworker, Claire had brought to my attention about Young Living, essential oils, and living with natural products. It was new to me. I mean, I'd heard about essential oils, but I didn't think about it like that it could help you in so many ways, and that you could, pretty much flip your entire household to plant-based products. Anything I had heard prior to that about, using naturally derived products or DIYs, the first thing that came to my mind, particularly about cleaning, was using vinegar. And I did not like the smell of vinegar. I don't think most people do. And so why would I want to clean with vinegar? However, I went to her class. I smelled essential oils from Young Living for the first time, which that was very eye-opening for me. I had a couple of bottles of essential oils prior to then, but lavender and peppermint were the ones I had before. There's a hair flying around. But when I smelled Young Living's lavender and peppermint compared to what I had at home at that time, it was a world of a difference. So much stronger, so much purer. And that's when I signed up right away with her. Through the year, 2018 was a year of real transformation for me, even though I was still going through the heavy periods and whatnot, as I shared before. But I ended up learning things such as about the FDA not regulating essential oils, meaning that other companies pretty much do what they do, what you see on the store shelves, and that's the price you pay for. When you see something such as frankincense, for example, which certain parts of the world, frankincense oil is considered more valuable than gold, and you see it on a store shelf for maybe like $10, maybe less, then that should be a huge red flag to you about like, okay, what's in that bottle. I learned that. I learned about reading labels, how important it is to read labels. I had been using some cleaning products from a pretty well-known brand. I want to say years, probably a decade. And I'd switched to that brand particularly because I thought it was better for me and it was better for the environment. But I learned that you need to read the labels and see what's in the ingredients, particularly the word perfume or fragrance. So that word fragrance again comes back. That is an umbrella term that companies can use as a trade secret, and they don't need to disclose what makes up or what they use to make up the word fragrance. So what you smell as lavender, or another scent that just pops into mind because I used to use it quite a lot is, cucumber melon. That, excuse me, that they would use the word fragrance. Yes, you smell that, but what chemicals are they using under the word fragrance? And there could be really hundreds or thousands of harmful chemicals under that word. So that I learned. Part of that too of my journey of learning was a documentary started streaming on Netflix. It's called Stink. I believe it's still on Netflix today, and it was a 2015 documentary, and it really is eye-opening. And at that point when I did watch it, I had already learned some of these things. I had learned about referencing the EWG.org, that's the Environmental Working Group website, to find out about what ingredients are in your products, and you can get a ratings for what those ingredients, where they are in the scale, and you essentially want to stay away from anything that has like anything rated that's above a 2, I believe is what it is. But anyways, Stink does a really great job of kind of walking you through what it is, what companies are doing, how they're kind of hiding behind that word fragrance, and that there's nothing that we can do about it unless we start changing our buying behaviors and kind of pretty much voting with our dollar, because right now the FDA does not require companies to do anything different about it. So highly recommend, if you have not watched that documentary, to go ahead and watch it. So 2018, a huge transformation for me. I learned a lot. I also learned that I needed to change the way I was coming to the table. And for me, that's why I share, in my posts and in my stories, is that I want to inform people about these things as well. I want to inform people and educate people that there is another way, that you don't have to accept that what's on the store shelves or online, that it's safe, that the government, if it's on the shelf, essentially you think it's safe because the government has approved it. That's not the case whatsoever. So that's why I do my stories. That's why I do my classes, because I want people to understand, and I want people to, put priority in their health and wellness, and not just as an afterthought, because that's what I had done, prior. And maybe if I had someone come to me sooner about Young Living and using essential oils, maybe, things would have been different. Maybe not. I could have still had fibroids, because there's not an exact root cause found, except that they know that it's genetic. But I'm sure that there are other environmental factors that kind of led to the fact, and that it kind of exploded in a sense for me at the time, that required me to take some drastic actions with having surgery. So that's me, kind of in a nutshell. That's my journey so far. That's, my experiences that have led me to this point, why I share with you guys. I want you to feel empowered and to be proactive, to take charge and make the decisions about investing in your wellness and your well-being now, so you can have a better future. Because as we know, there's been lots of studies out there about, as we get older, medical bills tend to increase with that. But think about if we take care of ourselves now, what we can do in the way what we use in our homes, cleaning and our personal care products, skincare, makeup products, how that can help us start now to hopefully mitigate any issues in the future. So, yeah, that's why I'm here for you. If you have any questions, please feel free to send me a DM. I'm more than happy to answer any questions you may have. And then I will be popping on probably every 2 to 3 days. Tomorrow I will be back to kind of start things again with sharing about the basics of essential oils. Is kind of like an essential oil 101. I will be doing a live just like this, just walking through about what essential oils are, how to use them, what the benefits are, and then a few days after that I will share more about the premium starter kit that I got with Young Living, because it is a great kit to get started and be introduced into the world of essential oils, especially if you don't know a lot about essential oils and where to start. And that's where I was, because I didn't know anything. It comes with 12 oils, and I'm going to talk through those 12 oils and how I've used every single one of them, and where it led me to today. I hope you're enjoying the rest of your afternoon, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.